Yeah, I'm reviewing this. I know this is a bit weird, but I really wanted to review this thing because this is just such a weird, dumb coaster. So today we're reviewing Drifting Coaster that I rode at Schützenfest in Hanover, which is a yearly event in the city of Hanover. This is of course a traveling coaster. It travels around with the showman FTE Ahrend, if that is how it's pronounced. No. So it goes to other fairs as well. I'm pretty sure it's been at some Oktoberfest events a few times. And it's a very unique, one-of-a-kind coaster. Automatically you're gonna think, oh, then people would love to ride this because it's so unique and cool. Well, not really. It didn't even seem to be popular at the fair. But that doesn't matter. I really want to review this thing. It has a reputation of being janky, kind of uncomfortable, and generally just not really fun. I, however, disagree on some of those things. I rode it in July of 2022, and we're gonna start right off with the technical shit. So Drifting Coaster is made by Reverchon, and I'm pretty sure it is a swinging coaster model. The only one of its kind, and it's very similar to other swinging styled 4D coasters such as Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic Kingdom, as well as General Aero suspended coasters. It opened in 2016, so it is actually quite new, and it features 4 rider cars with 2 rows back to back, similar to e.g. a Mauer spinner. The seats are also fine, and the over-the-shoulder restraints are kind of rubbery, so they're a little soft, I guess. Comfort is nothing special, but it's also not an uncomfortable ride to sit in. I believe it's 65.6 feet tall, somewhere around there, but I couldn't actually find any official stat, so this is just a guess as to how tall it is.
We made this one up.
I do, however, know it's 1,312.3 feet long. This is the only official stat I could find, and that's actually pretty long as well. That also means that the speed is kind of a guess. I think it probably goes around 31.1 miles an hour, somewhere around there, I'm guessing. It has a long duration of 1 minute and 4 seconds, which is pretty decent unless you don't like it, then it's horrible. I can't take it anymore! And of course it has 0 inversions. I mean, this is basically a wild mouse coaster. That's what I classify it as. So of course it's not gonna have any inversion. It doesn't even have any banking at any point.
You're tripping Jimmy!
So Drifting Coaster is a very blue coaster with silver supports, and I gotta be honest, it actually looks pretty good. The colors are super fresh and nice looking. There's not a sign of wear on it at all, and it hasn't faded in the slightest, so it's actually pretty good looking. It looks kind of funky with some of the shaping on those turns, just those zigzag S-bends look really bizarre. And it also has a classic funfair presentation. You know, there are racing flags and screens, and then there's the massive intriguing sign that makes you curious as to what it is. So it looks fine. I mean, it's a funfair coaster, but they have actually done a little work on it regarding its presentation, and I quite enjoy it.
Alright.
And we're playing some fucking Beyblade!
The layout of Drifting Coaster begins with a small pre-lift section with 2 small switchbacks leading you over to the chain lift hill. After the lift hill, there's a teeny tiny pre-drop that takes you into the first switchback.
You're all so cute!
You're not really gonna get any laterals here, and you're gonna get very minimal swinging. Then comes the first drop, and this is surprisingly steep for such a coaster. You only get mild floater at the most, but you do however get quite a snap when you go into the valley, although you won't really feel any positive forces here. Then you have a drawn out ascent up into the top, and then you hit a slower switchback, so a little more swinging, but also not really any laterals. After the first mid-course, you hit the first series of S-bends, and this is where the swinging truly begins. Now, these S-bends give a little bit of laterals, but because of the swinging, you won't really feel them like you normally would on a wild mouse coaster, and the swinging is quite fun. Of course, how much you swing depends on the weight, and I guess the car, because I saw one car that could almost only swing one direction, like to one side. It was really weird looking. Our car swung just fine, and it's really fun. There are not really any forces other than the weak laterals, but it is very fun, and it feels incredibly funky.
This food looks kinda funky.
Then you hit a switchback which has a larger swing and also a little bit of laterals, but not too many. After another mid-course, you have another drop. This one isn't as floaty or as snappy or steep as the first one, and then there's another drawn-out ascent. These drops are fine because they give some speed, but they don't do anything other than that. Then you have a faster switchback here, which definitely gives some great laterals and some decent swinging. There's another mid-course, and then another series of S-bends. Now these S-bends are just like the first, not really many forces, but super fun with the swinging itself because it's just such a fun motion in itself. Not intense, but super entertaining. Here's another switchback that hits really hard and gives you a bit of a punch. while you get some nice laterals and a big swing. This is one of those moments that kind of hurts, but it's really fun. Another mid-course, another forceless drop, and very drawn-out ascent. Then you have this very fast switchback as well, which gives some great laterals and a high swing. Then another mid-course, and then you have these more unique 3 switchbacks here, which are more like larger turns. These all give a very large swing, as well as a bit of laterals. They have a very good flow. Actually, some of the best flow on the swings on the ride, so I quite enjoyed these. Then you have a small swing to the right with a little bit of laterals, a tiny descent in angle to gain a little bit of speed, a larger switchback with weak laterals but not much swinging, and then here notice that you start swinging toward the left, meaning that this left hand turn here is gonna hit even harder because you're swinging toward the wrong side. You're gonna get the hardest hit of lateral forces on the ride, and it's kind of painful. You also get a very high swing, but honestly, it's a super fun turn. The forces are kind of painful, but it's so fun. It's one of those moments where you say ow and then laugh your ass off afterwards. And that's the final brake run. So yeah, Drifting Coaster has a very simple but also very unique layout. It's definitely not a normal Wild Mouse layout, and I think the drops could be better and some of the turns a little faster, but I mean overall it's quite fun.
It's faster if you drive!
The pacing on Drifting Coaster is I mean, speed isn't really a factor, especially since the fast parts are some of the more dull moments. So disregarding speed, let's look at how often something interesting actually happens. There is definitely something interesting happening with the swinging or the turns or a speedy drop. There are some uninteresting sections in between that kind of ruin that kind of pacing.
Boring!
I would have preferred if every element did something interesting, kind of like on a Wild Mouse where I actually think something interesting almost always happens unless you get trimmed. Drifting Coaster is just more inconsistent. It also has a few straight section and mid-course brake runs. You don't really get trimmed on the mid-courses though, but yeah, overall pacing is definitely not the greatest on this thing, but it's also not really an important factor on a coaster like this.
Whatever, I don't give a shit.
You shouldn't give a shit. My leg feels funny.
So people are right that Drifting Coaster is kind of janky, but it's not too bad. The corners hit you a little due to the transitions, sort of like on an SLC, you know, they're too snappy, so you sort of get punched in the turns. But it's far from as painful as an SLC though. Even though I may have gotten a punch or two, I kinda liked it as well, it wasn't a problem. The only part where I really had a problem was actually the first drop, not even that final turn. Because even though the final turn smacks the shit out of you, it was really funny. But the drop is too snappy for its own good. Probably because it is also that steep, so when you snap into the valley, you get quite a gut punch. But that is my only real complaint about this ride smoothness. Otherwise, it's fine. I mean, it's decently smooth with a few janky transitions, but it's nothing bad at all. Drifting Coaster has a racing theme. There's the great sign that does have that racing feel. There are all the flags and then the screens that all really add to the illusion that you're on some sort of racing track. And I mean, you're supposed to be drifting like a drift car, even though, I mean, I've never seen a car drift like that. Otherwise, that's it. That is the theme, and it's fine. I mean, you don't really pay attention to it, and it's not as well themed as Tom de Antigua, which I also wrote there. But it's a traveling ride. It doesn't really need any theming, and what it's got is nice.
Okay.
Overall, I like Drifting Coaster. It is kind of sketchy, which seems to be like a Reverchon theme, but is not at all the sketchiest ride I've ever ridden. It doesn't do a bunch, and it's very much a one-trick pony, and the trick isn't mind-blowing in any way, but it's fun. It's one of those kinds of fun that are fun just because they are.
Did you understand a single word of what you just said?
I liked it more than I expected, and I would definitely ride it again. I overall quite enjoy it. It's nothing special, but a fun and funny experience. So overall, I would give it a 5 out of 10 for its rating. It's right in the middle, as I don't have any personal problems with it really, aside from the drop.
Still a piece of garbage.
And I still found it to be quite a fun experience. Even the uncomfortable jolts were funny as hell. It's a good ride to go on and experience when you're there, and I can definitely recommend giving it a shot, even though, again, don't expect this to be anything special. I think most people still just see it as a credit.
It's a credit.
Or something to get you views on YouTube, I guess. Which makes sense. I mean, it's a really unique concept, and I have never seen anything like this. That's also why I was pretty excited to ride it, to see how fucking stupid this would actually be. And yeah, it's a stupid ride.
Hey Patrick, what am I now?
Stupid?
But I enjoyed it. So let me know if you guys actually ridden this, or at least seen it, or if you want to ride it at all. A lot of people say it looks like a piece of shit. I wouldn't say it is a piece of shit at all. So again, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts about this thing. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye!